When this young woman escapes to this quiet town to spend time alone and find some inspiration for her bookwork, she unknowingly walks straight into a nightmare controlled by a group of vicious predators, including the town's own sheriff. But what they never expected is that their victim would return, and her revenge would be far more terrifying than anything they ever did to her.
I really want you to meet my new teacher. She's way cool.
Truly an honor to speak with you, miss.
Hills. Jennifer Hills.
Matthew.
Sure, Matthew!
This movie opens as we are introduced to Jennifer, a passionate writer, who relates that life in the big city keeps her too distracted to focus on her next book. So, she has decided to head deep into a secluded location, to rent a quiet house in the countryside, where she hopes she can finally think clearly. When she arrives, she meets Earl, who was the man renting the place out. As they talk, Earl warns her that the road to the house is quite confusing, and even with his directions, Jennifer still ends up getting lost. She eventually pulls into a gas station to ask for help, and when she stops, she sees 3 men who were hanging around the station, and when she asks, one of them, Johnny, eventually points her toward the right road and takes the opportunity to flirt a little. But Jennifer is clearly not interested in meeting anyone, and when he gets too close to her, she is forced to push him away before quickly driving off. Several miles later, she finally reaches her new home, and after she unpacks, she decides to wander around the property until she finds the garage near the house that is cluttered with tools and old chemical cans. When she returns to the porch, she decides to relax and have a drink. However, she spills wine on herself, and as she goes to the sink to try to clean the stain, we see that someone is watching her through her windows. The next morning, when Jennifer goes out for her earlier morning run, she stumbles upon an old, abandoned house. To her, it was an odd sight, so she decided to check it out. But when she goes inside, to her surprise, she finds nothing except for old tools littering the rooms. So, she decides to head back to her place only to discover that her sink does not work and she has to call a plumber to check it out. But before the plumber arrives, Jennifer accidentally drops her phone into the toilet, leaving her disconnected from the outside world. When the plumber, Matthew, arrives to work on the sink, Jennifer soon finds out that he is very shy and that he even has some struggles with his mental health. However, he is kind to her as he finishes the job and prepares to leave. And out of gratitude for his help, Jennifer gives him a small kiss on the cheek to thank him, but this leaves Matthew completely stunned as he quickly turns to rush out of the house. That afternoon, we see Matthew meet up with the same men from the gas station. And as they talk, he admits that he visited Jennifer's house to help fix her sink. That is when Stanley shows the others the short video he recorded the previous night. However, they laughed at Johnny as they teased him at the way Jennifer rejected him at the gas station and that Matthew ended up getting a kiss from her instead. This leaves Johnny feeling humiliated as he immediately starts to plot revenge on Jennifer. Later that night, Jennifer is startled awake by a loud noise inside the house. But when she heads outside to check, she sees nothing, only that the barn door is open. So, she goes to lock it, but when she returns to her house, she finds a photo of the men suddenly displayed on her laptop screen. Before she can react, the trio shows up as they immediately capture her and tease her relentlessly. Then, they force her to drink with them as they tell Matthew to take her. Just then, Jennifer manages to push back and escape from the house into the forest. As she wanders through the woods, she runs into Sheriff Storch and Earl. Still left panicked from the assault, she tells them what had happened as she begs the sheriff to follow her home and arrest the intruders. The sheriff eventually calms her down and promises to arrest the men as he takes her home. But when they entered her house, it was empty. Storch could only see a few bottles of alcohol in the room, as he immediately assumes that Jennifer had been drunk and that she must have made up the story. Just then, he finds some weed on the table and this confirms his suspicion. However, Jennifer tries to convince him otherwise as she pleads with him that she is the victim, but her pleas fall on deaf ears as he orders her to turn around, and he slowly grabs her by the neck. That is when Jennifer realizes the horrifying truth that the sheriff is working with Johnny, and that he was never there to help her as the men eventually enter the room one by one. The sheriff continues to humiliate her and forces her to obey his orders. Terrified by the horror she is witnessing, she tries one more time to fight back, but she's no match for the men. That's when Johnny instructs Matthew to take advantage of Jennifer or they'll kill her. Initially, Matthew refuses to proceed, but when the threats intensifies, he eventually gives in as he obeys their orders and has his way with Jennifer. Several hours later, the group decides to let her go as Jennifer manages to pull herself together and stumbles out of the building. However, the men soon change their mind as they once again capture her in the woods and they all force themselves on her. In the end, Jennifer is left humiliated and without any clothes as he wanders off in the woods again. But the sheriff isn't done with her, as he tells the others that if words get out, they may all end up in jail. So he tells them that they will need to hide all evidence and also silence Jennifer forever in order to end things for good. They all agree to this, but just before he can act, Jennifer suddenly turns around on the bridge and falls into the river as she vanishes under the surface. Initially, the men watched and waited, knowing that she will resurface to catch her breath, but she never did. This leaves the men confused at what must have happened as Storch becomes convinced that she might still be alive and he orders the others to search for her body. But hours later, there is still no sign of Jennifer. Now a little panicked, Storch commands the men to destroy all evidence that can tie them to Jennifer as he collects and breaks the videotape Johnny was keeping of her, as he also instructs Stanley to burn the house down. In the meantime, Storch decides to return the house key to Earl himself, as he tells him that Jennifer has already left. Meanwhile, we see that Matthew is depressed about what the men had forced him to do, as he continues to blame himself for doing it. That is when we see that Storch is actually a married man with a young daughter and that his wife is once again heavy with their second child. As they talk at home, Storch gets a call from Earl as the old man tells him that Jennifer's friend had called to make inquiries about her. So, Storch quickly covers up as he assures Earl that he will make sure he reaches out to Jennifer's friend to inform her that Jennifer had already left. About that same time, Stanley runs to the others in fear as he tells them that the last tape he had hidden for himself is gone. The other two men were furious that he still had such incriminating evidence with him even after Storch ordered them to destroy everything. That night, as Johnny relaxes at home, he suddenly hears a strange sound outside. He initially thinks that the others were playing tricks on him as he grabs a pistol just in case. But when he steps out, he spots Jennifer's slipper on his porch as he suddenly hears the bushes nearby rustle. And although he fires his gun and rushes to check it out, he doesn't see anyone, only Matthew's rubber bands scattered in the dirt. The next day, Storch returns home to find a surprise waiting for him as his wife tells him that someone had delivered a videotape for him. Storch immediately knew the implication as he quickly storms out of the house and heads to where the men were. He was furious at them for keeping the last tape. However, they quickly turn the blame on Matthew, as they inform Storch that they've not seen him since Jennifer's disappearance. Terrified at the realization of what the outcome can be, Storch decides to eliminate anyone who could expose them as he goes to invite Earl on a hunting trip into the woods. But when the two enter the forest, Storch suddenly turns on him and shoots him dead. At about the same time, we see that Matthew is still paranoid about the incident and out of anxiety, he falls on the stairs in his home. But by the time he regains consciousness, Jennifer is beside him in the house and his hands are tied. He immediately starts to plead for Jennifer to forgive him, as she responds that even though she knows that he acted against his will, he will still need to suffer as she drags him into another room to torture him. Meanwhile, Stanley and Andy are deep in the woods searching for Matthew when they suddenly hear a harmonica playing. Thinking it was Matthew, Andy decides to break into the abandoned house, while Stanley stays behind to watch from the outside. Suddenly, he sees Jennifer appear in the distance, watching him. In his anger, he matches forward to capture her, only to step straight into a trap Jennifer had placed on the dirt. His scream rang out in the woods and this made Andy rush towards him. But just before he realizes who was behind him, Jennifer strikes out and knocks him unconscious. Andy eventually regains consciousness inside the old house, where he finds himself tied inside a bathtub that's slowly filling with water. Stanley, on the other hand, is still trapped in the woods, now strapped to a tree as Jennifer records every moment of his agony. She ensures that he suffers to the very end as she even fastens his eyelids open with a fishing hook. She then decides to smear his face with fish to attract wild birds, as she heads back to check on Andy. When she enters, she finds that he was almost drowning, but she didn't want him to die just yet, as she shuts off the running water and replaces it with acid she found in the store. She then informs him that the only way he can survive is by keeping completely still and not lowering his head at all. But moments after she leaves, exhaustion takes over, and Andy slips into the bath as we see that Stanley's fate has been sealed too, as the crows arrive and deliver fatal attacks on him. After she has successfully taken out the two, Jennifer turns her attention to Johnny. At the gas station, Johnny sees a good-looking woman beside her car, but as he approaches to flirt, he discovers too late that it is Jennifer as she knocks him out instantly. She once again drags him to the old house where she tortures him. She even tells him that she's always dreamed of becoming a dentist and that she decided to fix Johnny's teeth in her own chilling way. But even at this, Johnny refuses to apologize and tries to threaten her. That's when Jennifer delivers a fatal blow as she ends Johnny's part in the story. Moments later, Storch's wife calls him to inform him that their daughter's new teacher has just arrived at their home to take their daughter out. He is initially pleased with the gesture until he hears that the teacher's name is Jennifer. He immediately makes a U-turn and heads back home. However, when he arrives, Jennifer and his daughter have already left as his wife tells him that they've gone for a walk in the park. At this moment, Storch is devastated as he goes to desperately search the park, but he finds nothing. However, when he finally returns to his car, Jennifer is waiting in the back seat as she once again knocks him out cold. When he eventually wakes, Storch finds himself tied up, with his rifle positioned right behind his rear as Jennifer watches him. That is when she tells him that she is doing this just because Storch likes it from behind. He immediately starts begging for forgiveness, as he pleads for Jennifer to spare his life. But Jennifer is far past mercy now, as she reveals that Matthew is not dead and that the trigger to the rifle is tied to Matthew's finger. That is when Storch realizes his fate, that although Matthew is unconscious now, his waking up will definitely be the end of him. And just as Jennifer walks out, Matthew regains consciousness, as we see Jennifer with a very satisfied smile as the rifle goes off, bringing an ending to her nightmare. And with that final act, Jennifer's long and harrowing path of revenge finally reaches its end. And that is the recap of the movie I Spit on Your Grave. If you loved this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and also leave a comment for us. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.